lot of picks today from the Pig Dog crew. Looking at some of the high-profile games, we'll have the Dodgers and Braves pick as well as college football, and a lot of NFL and college football throughout the show. Let's take a look here at our lineup for today's show as we'll look at our green room. We'll have Alex Smart will lead us off. Of course, we'll have Shane Mickle will join us as well. Damon Saj signs in bottom of the hour. So will Mitch. Mitch will sign in bottom of the hour. He'll do his segment with a pick. Chris Ruffalo will co-host. And El Ninos will join us here with his Dodgers shirt again. Let's see if we can see if that shirt brings luck for him again. First, I'd like to explain to the audience that our format of our show and selection process to ensure the best quality picks. Each handicapper selects their own pick in advance of the show. You have to let the handicappers pick their game if you want to get the best results. So they reply all to an email chain in the morning of the show to avoid duplicate selections. Now, we use the current line minutes before the start of the show. We do not force high-profile game picks from our guests because, of course, that destroys the quality of the selections. We want high-quality picks. We do cover the high-profile games. The way we do that is in between the handicapper segments. The co-host and I, and sometimes the handicapper, will be involved in the high-profile game discussion, betting-wise, where we'll select either a pick, a lean, or opinion of the game. All right, we'll get started here with the show, and I'd like to welcome my co-host today, Chris Ruffalo. Chris, how you doing today?
Tony, I'm doing well. I hate to have to imagine that people think that we would cherry pick games. I'll tell you, but you know what? Yes, that's the price of success around here. Everybody wants to hate on us, but you know what? We're just going to keep delivering winners. I'll tell you that much.
Well, that's right. I just wanted to clarify because I know when I look at the chat room, and we welcome all the suggestions from the chat. A lot of the audience in the chat room would like us. We'll put in some of the high-profile games in there, and I just want to clarify that we will cover them throughout the show, and the picks the cappers give are their own, and then that will ensure the best quality. Because I know if you force games on cappers, you're not going to get the best results when you do that because they may not feel strong on the pick.
Well, and that's kind of what we talk about sometimes in the morning as well. It's like everybody's like, "Oh, give us the picks." I say, would you rather want picks or would you rather want winners? Because you know what, I'll tell you, I'll give you a side if you want one, but if I feel a total's a stronger play, that's the side I'm going to go with. Because I don't know about you, but I like seeing win whenever I check off my bets as opposed to lose. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think probably 95% of our audience believes that. There are some of those out there that are just kind of looking for that TV game, and I think we just have to kind of continue to just sound the point, make the point over and over to them, and I just think explain kind of the process that it goes into our selections and into our show, because again, it's about high quality picks, getting the best results possible, and that is when you let the handicapper send the game they want, and then we'll cover the gaps in between with some of these high profile games. All right, Chris, we're taking a look here. Looks like we have a tie game now in this Astros and Rays game, 1-1 home run here in the third before the Rays.
Yeah, it was nice to actually see that we were going to get a pitching matchup coming into this one, because I'll tell you, I kept checking for the matchup throughout the day, and I kept seeing TBD, and I'm like, okay, so is somebody actually going to start the game, or are we just going to just have our fingers crossed that somebody makes it to the mound? Curtis versus Garcia, if you figured that runs were going to be scored here, but you figured that maybe if you saw Curtis on the mound, it's going to play more towards a bullpen game, which is more of Tampa Bay, what they're used to, but you know what? I think we're going to have a war on our hands because, Tampa's not going to want to give Houston a chance to make this a 3-2 series, because the second that you give a team back-to-back wins and make it a 3-2 series, all bets are off at that point. They'll force a game 7 more often than they won't. So this is going to be one heck of a game, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, we've got the third Astros pitcher in 3 innings here, and I know this is tough for Dusty Baker. He doesn't have his better arms available for him right now. I mean, Framber Valdez, they want to give him extra rest. Javier pitched a lot, so you're kind of seeing the bottom end of their bullpen. They're kind of just Houston right now, just holding their breath in this one.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to say that all hands are on deck with your life on the line, your season on the line, for the rest of the series. But the problem is, it's like we said, they're going to state the obvious. You win here, you got to play again tomorrow, and you got to have somebody to be able to go tomorrow. And if you use everybody up, well, you're going to be throwing Carlos Correa or someone out on the mound to be pitching for you. And you need to have somebody at least semi-reliable. I know you can probably send out Zach Greinke if you make it to a Game 7, but like I said, you got one step at a time, but don't leave yourself with no bullets in the gun. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course, this game being played in Southern California, 3 o'clock local time. Sun sets around 6 o'clock, so we're now starting to see some of the shadows around home plate. We should see shadows here for the good anywhere half an hour to 45 minutes. We may see some depressed scoring here, but I think top of the hour, I think that everyone will be in shadows and maybe the scoring will resume. So maybe Houston getting a little break here with these shadows.
Yeah, and I know the shadows are some of your favorite angle with the postseason baseball around here. We saw in that Oakland series, we saw Bob Melvin kind of want a little bit of help with the shadows, and I think he didn't. Is it that the A's didn't end up getting the benefit of the lights for their half of the inning? But I don't know. Like I said, Tony, you'll know about the effects of the shadows better than anybody just from being out in that area. I unfortunately. I'm from a market where we have a team that plays in a dome stadium, so we don't even have to worry about shadows, even when the lights are off. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, it's the thing is Astros had a little break because Dusty Baker hadn't played for the LA Dodgers. He understands the shadows. He knew how to manage that situation, how to waste time, let the pitcher walk around, and just try and buy time for the shadow. There's certain things you can do to stall the game to make it work in your favor. And I think Melvin was kind of referring. They got caught off guard. They don't play day games at Dodger Stadium. I don't think the A's have. It's usually when you play those interleague series, especially a team like the A's, it's usually going to be one of those midweek games. It's always going to be a night game.
Yeah.
I'm going to look at some of the line moves. I didn't see a whole lot from college football this week. The one notable one here, Chris, was this Pitt-Miami game. It opened 11. We're seeing, and I think it was even 10 at some point when Mitch was just sounding off on my plus 10.5. I should have waited today to give out the pick because it's a 13.5. Pretty big move on this one.
Yeah, I'm hearing rumblings of a quarterback issue at Pitt. I think Pickett's his status is up in the air right now. He's probable, but you know what? I mean, this is still a game that I've gotten harped on both sides. You talked me into it early, and then I kept hearing it from Mitch early on. And it was like, damn, he's saying Pitt's gonna get a house, right? And I'm like, God, see, now here's the problem. I have a feeling that if I don't go with Miami, I'm never gonna hear the end of it. So this is probably a no play for me now, but. I think I might actually end up leaning towards the under. I can see this one being just a ground and pound type of game that there's going to be a lot of bruises coming out of this game. But I think that's the reason why the line jumped so much is because there's a questionable quarterback for Pitt coming into this one.
Yeah, absolutely. 8 Eastern time, that Georgia-Alabama game, it was at 6. It went down to 4, but I think people are starting to realize that Nick Saban will find a way to coach this game, so it's up now to 4.5.
Yeah, and it's getting into one of those sort of uncomfortable numbers where if it starts to hit closer to 5, you're kind of on the fence about it a little bit. I'm still leaning towards taking the 4.5 with Georgia. I just think that this is going to be a tight game. I can see this being a field goal game regardless of how you slice it. I know Nick Saban's a solid coach, but you got to feel that Georgia, they're prepared for this one. I mean, this something feels off different about this Alabama team, in my opinion, this year. That's just from me. Noticing SEC football the last few years it just feels a little bit different in Tuscaloosa.
Lions at Jaguars opened Detroit 1.5. We're seeing 3s and 3.5, so we're seeing 3 heavy juice here. So early money here on the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, I could tell you this much time. The Jacksonville Jaguars were the one team standing between me and a 9-game parlay from last week. And I know we're not trying to look back and only look forward, but that one was a hard one to swallow, especially when you look at how high I was on Jacksonville over the course of that last week. But the thing is that Jacksonville, during this 4-game losing streak, they've given up 30 or more points in each of those 4 games. And while Detroit's supposed to be a team with a defensive coach and Matt Patricia, they don't skimp on the offense with Matt Stafford, even with a very I don't want to say lackluster, but you don't have a star receiver like you had with Calvin Johnson in that lineup. You still have a no-name offense, but they still seem to put up points in bunches. So I'm still leaning towards, I think, the Lions and the points, even with the line movement.
Monday Night Football, Dallas open 3. We're now seeing a change of favorite here. Big move here. Arizona to -2, -1.5. I guess no confidence in Andy Dalton.
We were talking about that earlier today. I mean, he can still throw the ball. I mean, it's not like Andy Dalton's some inept quarterback. He's not a Brandon Whedon or some guy they just pulled in off the street. This guy used to be a perennial starter for the Cincinnati Bengals, and you can still play. I mean, for me, the play I think is still Arizona, because you look at even with Dallas having their franchise quarterback on the field, they were still 0-5 against the spread for the first 5 weeks of the season. So this is still a Dallas team that's got to figure it out. But maybe being an underdog at home in a primetime game will help correct that. I'm not sure, but I think that's where my early lean is toward Arizona right now.
All right, guys, a drive through here. We're here Monday through Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern time. Lots of picks coming up. We're going to have that Dodger Braves game 5. We got a lot of NFL. We'll get to that Georgia State, Arkansas State game as well. But let's now welcome into the show Alex Smart, one of the top cappers over at Pig Dogs Premium. Alex, how you doing today? We were talking about some of these line moves. I know you keep an eye on that screen quite a bit.
Yeah, it's all about the numbers with me. You guys are really, I always admit to people that I'm not as knowledgeable about individual players all the way through a lineup as some other people are. And for me, it's all about the math. And the reason why I'm like that, I'll just give you a quick rundown of why I'm like that, is I've learned over the years that understanding a sport from a fan's point of view, understanding lineups all the way through, they're important to an extent. But the most important thing here, because you have to understand you're in competition, essentially. You're in competition. You are an adversary for the books. And being an adversary for the books means that these guys do their homework on a constant basis. There's lots of wise guys like me out there trying to kick their asses. The numbers that they're posting out there, these are jacked up numbers. These are positive numbers. There's a myth that says that books don't always want 50-50 action. Well, that's BS. That's been put out there by the books and by different agents who work for the books. Remember this. The constant is here, profit for the books. Okay, so I'm going to make a long story short as fast as I can here and get to the point. And the point here is the reason why numbers are so important. 6.5 is better than the 7. 2.5 is better than the 3. You guys know this, but a lot of people think, I'm just going to lay a 3.5. I'm going to lay a 7.5 because I like my team. Long term, the books are going to kick your asses. So numbers are important.
Yeah, numbers are important. Of course, we see a lot of players out there getting the worst of it when they're betting. And of course, we're seeing line moves, early on. And a lot of times when it comes down to kickoff time, people are betting into some really bad numbers.
Yeah, absolutely. And just going back quickly, I key on quarterbacks. I key on left tackles. I make sure those guys are in the lineup before I pull the trigger on certain games. And, we're going to talk about that San Francisco game today. And Jimmy G is expected to play. Am I not correct, or am I correct here? Did you guys hear anything?
No. I'm hearing he's good to go. So
yeah, yep.
He's good to go. Yeah. And that's what we're going to base this on. Jimmy G, ready to go.
All right, so we're ready to go. Let's transition right to that game, Alex. And look here at this LA Rams. It's a Sunday Night Football game and San Francisco. Right now, the Rams road favorites here of 3.5. Total sits here at 51.5. Rams have played well. I think they've done better than the experts thought. They thought this Ram team would be around the 500 mark. Still a lot of season to go. San Francisco's kind of been hit with some injuries. Bosa hurt. The tight end was down early, but of course, quarterback issue. Mullins came in and had a bad game against the Eagles, but looks like Jimmy G's set to go. You got the Niners at home in a primetime game getting 3.5.
Well, looking at Jimmy G again now, last week, he looked a little bit weak. I mean, he went, 7 for 17? I mean, they sat him on the bench. They didn't like the way he looked. I mean, and did anybody like the way he looked? And, is there something going on with Jimmy? Does anybody, I'll just let you guys come in here for a second. Is there something going on with Jimmy that I don't know about? Because I always like to hear your opinions on stuff. So other people's opinions.
I was seeing some of that. He was still having issues with his ankle personally, but I don't know if that's 100%. I don't know if he's fully back on track. But I mean, I know the ankle was bothering him a little bit in that last game. I don't know if it's. I'm trying to see here if I can find out 100% if he's good to go. But last I heard rumblings was that his ankle was still bothering him a little bit.
Yeah, and that's what I'm basing it on. Yeah, that's what we're basing this on right now. So everybody just stay tuned. Just make sure Jimmy G's in the lineup before you pull the trigger on this one. I just want everybody to know that. So, this guy. I mean, no matter what anybody says, he's 25-8 SU in his career. I mean, you can't knock him as an underdog. He's won straight up 7 of 10 times, covered 8 of 10 times, and he's 1-0 SU and ATS at home as an underdog. Now, I know the Rams have played good. Look, going all the way back to St. Louis, And the Rams always had this rough and tumble type of defense. And, people say they've sort of wandered away from that a little bit. I disagree. I still think they're tough as hell. But Jimmy G has a way of tearing down defenses. I mean, he sees the field well as long as he's healthy. And I really feel like we've got a possible upset on our hands here. Taking points, I think, is great. Sprinkling a little bit of the money line, I think that's also something that we should do here. And, take one unit, of course, and we're going to take 3/4 of that one unit, and we're going to from your bankroll, I should say, one unit from your bankroll. And one of these times we'll talk about bankrolls, guys. But right now we'll just go one unit with your bankroll, and then we'll go with 25% on the money line. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to bank this winner.
All right, Chris, this is an important game for the 49ers because they've already suffered a divisional loss at home to Arizona.
Yeah, what is it? 3 straight losses at home already, or?
Yeah,
I believe so. I think they're 0-3 straight up, 0-3 against the spread at home this season. And I know we're not taking against the spread losses into consideration when it comes to a division race, but I mean that's still something that's got to be a little bit alarming if you're back in the 49ers on any given night. I mean, granted, part of that was the primetime debacle against the Eagles recently, but you know what? I think Alex is definitely bang on with a lot of these points. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you personally. I was on the other side coming into this one just because I feel that Jimmy G still has to show me that he's 100%, that he's not dealing with a bum ankle. But again, that's something that, like Alex said, and that we're definitely going to have to monitor coming into this one, because you want to obviously have clear 100% vision coming into this one, knowing who's going where and who's dealing with what. My concern against the Rams with the 49ers is that their running backs are still healthy. And I know you've got Aaron Donald up front. You've still got a solid linebacking core, but the tandem of Mostert and McKinnon, they're showing that they can do some real damage out of that San Fran backfield. And if they chew up a lot of clock, and you get into these late game situations where I think the line right now is 3.5 is what I'm seeing at. If you're stuck on 3 and San Fran's got the ball late, and they decide to chew up a lot of clock, or even for whatever reason that the Rams are up 2. You're in a bad spot, and that's definitely where that hook can come in handy here for the 49ers.
Yeah, absolutely. And sorry, yeah.
No, go ahead. Go right ahead. Go ahead. I was going to say
it back to you. But I just wanted to say one thing. And another thing is with San Francisco, a lot of bettors will look at it. A lot of weekend warriors will look at this and go, "Hey, San Francisco's due." But that's not what I'm backing here. There's no such thing as due. Teams can lose 10 games in a row. Does that team have talent? Does that team have the ability? You have to figure this out. And do they have the ability, not just to cover, but do they have the ability to win? Now, this is a question you have to ask yourself, and I think San Francisco actually has the guns, has the ability, has the talent to win. They're not performing up to their full abilities now, and it doesn't mean that they're going to, but, what do the odds say? And the odds say we have a good bet here.
Yeah, because the Rams are minus, and we've seen the Rams go into San Francisco as a plus, and they've actually backdoored. I remember last year they had that crazy Saturday night game I think they had against the 49ers. The offense showed well. I think they lost a heartbreaking game there, but here the Rams have to win the game, have to win by more than a field goal, Chris, and that's a big ask here in these divisional rival games.
Absolutely, it's a big ask when you consider that you look at that division. The Cardinals aren't laughing stock in that division anymore. You still got a Seattle team that's one of the best, and even if there aren't that many fans in the stands, they've still got a solid home field advantage. They have a solid team as well this year, and then you have the Rams and the 49ers who are battling it out in that division. All of a sudden, the NFC West has become a juggernaut, become one of the toughest leagues. They're right up there with the AFC North in terms of the toughest divisions to sort of make it out of this year, and neither team's going to want to give up this game. Granted, you don't want to give up a game to begin with, but these division games, especially with how tight that division is going to be at the end of the year, this could almost have some sort of double weighting to it. You're going to not want to give up basically 2 games worth to a division rival nonetheless. And you know what? This is going to be one that I agree is I'm starting to look at it more and more, and it feels like a game that's going to be decided late. It's going to be a tough, gritty, hard-nosed game. And that hook is definitely staring me right in the face right now, saying, do you really want to take a chance on me? Because this could be a field goal game. This could be one that gets decided on the last kick of the game.
What do you say to people that say, go ahead. What do you say to people that say when they put the hook on 3.5, or sometimes they say 7.5, they say, the book is trying to to try to bring you in to take that plus 3.5 because they know the other team is going to win by a lot more than 3.5 or a lot more than 7.5. I hear that all the time. Oh, they put a half on there because they want you to. They want to sucker you into that hook, taking the hook.
Yeah, well, in some ways they are. In some ways, they're not. The math says it's a bad bet. Now, it depends where you're looking at it. Like I've taken bad bets before, but when you're dealing with like long-term betting, you have to take these things into consideration. I mean, today, hey, 7.5 might be great, but long-term, if you're consistently doing that, looking at games consistently the same way, it's not a good bet.
Yeah,
So,
I think that logic comes into place when someone is going through a bad run. They're going through a bad run of losing, and they think that they're being actually tricked in by the books. Right? It's not them. It's the books that are tricking them.
Yeah. The books just give you the opportunity to beat yourself. That's all there is to it. There's the number. You take it. The book doesn't beat you. You beat yourself. So there you go. And that's what people do consistently. They beat themselves.
Yeah, they absolutely do. It's funny how some of these people look more into thinking that there's some conspiracy trying to get into their heads, but it's really them. These are all mathematical calculations. Certain money comes certain way. It's basically computerized, right?
It's become AI. It's amazing. The lines makers are not working just on their minds. Everybody else says, "Oh, this was a very highly gifted lines maker." Well, with all the tools they have now, man, you were in a battle and you need someone on your side. You need guys like us, believe me, on your side to sort of guide you through this. Because if you try it by yourself, there are successful bettors who do it by themselves. Don't get me wrong. But if you work all day and you got a mortgage to pay and you've got things to take care of, if you're just out there just jacking money around like a psychopath, I shouldn't use the word psychopath because I probably know what you mean. But anyway.
We have a couple on the panel for all we know.
That's right. Yeah.
So, Tony, if I could, I just want to ask Alex one thing that's kind of that I've been thinking about. And forgive me if this is sort of a nonsensical question, but we talk about key numbers and we talk about hooks. Do you find that maybe a hook on a certain number has a little bit more weight as opposed to a different number? Like I know we talk about 3 and 4 being key numbers and having the 3.5 in there. But what about like a 7 and an 8 and having it as 7.5? Do you sort of weight that hook a little bit differently?
Well, supposedly from a mathematical viewpoint, if a line gets to an 8, odds are it's a 10-point win. And I think we have like a 52.6% average on that. Don't mark that down as accurate, but it's close into that range because it's changed over a period of time. Yeah. I'm just going back. I know if I see a number at less than 3, those are not bad bets in my opinion, especially if you really like that team because most games, or they used to be old school, were won by that field goal. But going up past that, I don't know if you guys have heard this before or consistently use the math behind it. But when you get to about an 8, then you really have a 10-point line. So you do have. We're going to say, how am I going to say this? The best way to put it: anything from an 8 to a 10 is a 10-point lay, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I got you.
Gotcha. All right, here, joined by Alex Martin here on the drive-through. His play will be the 49ers plus 3.5 points. Alex says we look over at Pig Dogs Premium as we hit the bottom of the hour. What do you have going on over at the premium site?
We just have one college football game today. I didn't like the baseball, and I might be back with baseball soon again, but right now I'm just going to sit and watch. But we have some college football, Georgia State, Arkansas State. Hey, 2 great offensive teams. No, not 2 great offensive teams. One really good defensive team, one explosive offensive team. Should be a very interesting game. I have the total on that.
All right, Alex, guys, the total on that one. You can check them out over at Pig Dogs Premium. Near the top of the leaderboards, over 1,300 units of profit. Pick up one of his long-term packages now over at Pig Dogs Premium. All right, Alex, it's always great having your show. Always a good segment. A lot of knowledge you share with us. Have a great night, and we will talk with you next week.
Okay, nice seeing you guys. Take care.
All right, our buddy Alex Smart here on the drive. I always like interviewing Alex. I mean, Alex is just a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience, and a lot of passion goes into his segments because he's a professional bettor. I always call him a bettor first, handicapper second. He's moving lines, and he has really good knowledge of what goes on in the sports books. If you don't know, he's been recruited to try to work with a lot of these books.
No, and you can tell. I mean, that was kind of why I didn't want to hijack that, but I mean that was why I wanted to sort of get his opinion on that because that's something I've always wondered about, and we have handicappers as well, but from a betting standpoint, I kind of wanted to get his thoughts on it because it is something that you kind of see all the time because you kind of wonder where a 4.5 or the difference, how much the line between a 3.5 and a 4.5 is actually weighted, and we hear the terms key numbers and hooks all over the place, but. No, it's definitely some valuable knowledge for myself and for anybody else watching the show. That was great.
Oh, absolutely. Outstanding from Alex Smart. All right, Chris, let's take a look here at this Dodger-Braves game. Game 5 will start about an hour and a half here. We have Kershaw against Wilson. So we've gotten to the Atlanta pitching staff, the pitching what we worried about here. Wilson against Kershaw. On paper looks like a mismatch. Kershaw, big favorite, $2. Total sits at 9. Of course, we all know about. We sat through this yesterday where they got that 11th spot in the top of the first. It still went under the total of 20.5. Even though Urias somehow again, this guy's got a magic wand. Somehow he can look like he's going to give up a big inning. He gets out of it. It's amazing how this guy gets out of some of these jams.
Yeah, I said as much as we give him a hard time. He still gave up 2 runs or something like that before he left the game, and it didn't look like he was going to get hit hard, and then all of a sudden, Tony, like you said, he says a magic spell, waves his wand around in the air, and all of a sudden he's back in the dugout with no harm, no foul. It's just it's crazy, but you know what? It's just the kind of you have those pitchers, you have those guys that can get out of a jam, or you have guys that for whatever reason can't get off the mound to save their lives. So it balances out, but good on Urias to show up and get the Dodgers back in the series, and it's going to be a heck of a game tonight. I can't wait to see what Al has to say about this one.
That's right. I definitely have an opinion on this one here. We're seeing, I don't know if you look at run line, you look at the total in this game, or you even look at the dog here to see what Kershaw with those spasms. But they put in the camera on Kershaw. With all this coverage now. You get to see him in there. He wears his tank top, showing off his guns when he's out there warming up and getting some pitching. They look pretty good to me.
Yeah, you wear a tank top to show off the arms, but you're still hiding the back, as far as I'm concerned. So we're gonna have to see. I mean, we didn't have a lot of. I mean, we had a little bit more time before the last game to see that the back spasms removed him from the start, but. How many also times we had a pitcher that had back spasms going to the start thinking that they were going to feel well, and they only pitched 1 or 2 innings. And so, and with yesterday, I know a ton of pitchers weren't used from that bullpen, but if Kershaw goes out, that's a bullpen that has to do a lot of work, and that could be a spot for the Braves to capitalize, and that could be a spot for the Braves to come in and do a little bit of damage. I know we talked about it on the morning show where I think the reverse run line was thrown out on multiple occasions, and this is a hard game to call, honestly, and that's saying a lot with Clayton Kershaw and Bryce Wilson going on as starting pitchers, but it's postseason baseball.
Yeah, absolutely. Postseason baseball. All right, guys, this is the drive-thru. Still a lot more picks coming. Just saw Mitch signed in, so we'll have his segment later in the show here. He's got a big game to go over in college football, so we've got a big guest list for today. We'll continue our show. Let's go ahead and welcome El Ninos. El, how you doing? I know you're feeling pretty good. You got that 11-run first inning yesterday while we're on this segment.
Where'd he go? There he is. That's what I got to say about the game today.
Right there he's got his Kershaw.
Right?
So you're already telling us who you like today.
Yeah, I guess so. But yeah, the back is concerning, especially with the older pitchers. But Kershaw's been great this season, and I think he comes out and has a good game.
Yeah, well, it's a good game, but you can still lose, right? Because the bullpen can blow it for you. So you think how do you like your chances here with Kershaw and the bullpen supporting him tonight?
I like it. I like him. I see him tying the series up, and yeah, as long as Kershaw stays on the mound, gives us a good 5-6 innings, we should be okay. Bullpen,
boy.
I mean, it's a problem everywhere. I mean, Dodgers been hitting the Braves bullpen a little bit too, so that goes both ways. So.
Yeah, we've got a 3-1 score with Houston here. Houston had a big inning there in the fourth, and now we're seeing the Braves trying to rally back here, down 3-1 in this one in the fourth inning here, and they're up here with 1 out, a runner on first. All right, Al, you're going to take a look here at this Vikings and Falcons game. We got the Vikings here laying 4, total 54.5. We know there's been a coaching change where they go to the defensive guy. That's the weakness of the team, right? That's who they promote. It's just like we talked to you, backwards thinking, and then of course we'll put the bleep before that. And total 54.5. Minnesota here looking to get their first home win. Of course, no fans in the stands, so they lose a lot of that. A lot of their the benefit of having a home field advantage. It's gone there in Minnesota. But here we go. Vikings a big favorite.
Yeah. As you said, not much of a home field advantage, but they do have that defensive advantage, though. Falcons' defense has been pretty horrible no matter what kind of lead. I know we talked about the Dodgers' lead not being safe with 11 runs. Well, this Falcons team, no lead safe with their defense, that's for sure. And we've seen them blow a couple big leads already this season, and I don't think they go up to a big lead in this one. Of course, they've got a lot of question marks on the defensive side too, so that's not going to help them. We see Cook hasn't practiced yet this week, and the Falcons haven't practiced. They had a little COVID outbreak, so hope this game isn't rescheduled. But if it is, it just gives Cook some more time to rest. They also said that Jones wouldn't have practiced if they had held a practice today, and. Yeah, so guess what I'm trying to get to. Again, as far as the total goes, you mentioned the horrible defense. I agree with you. If I had to play it, it's a pretty high total. So I might stay away, especially with that question mark on Jones. If he's a go, I would definitely like the over a lot. But again, my play here will be on the side, and I think that defensive edge. Cousins has been a little bit of a concern turning the ball over, but I think he'll do better again against this Atlanta defense. And I'm going to lay the points with the Falcons here. I'm sorry, lay the points with the Vikings. My bad.
Lay the points with the Vikings. Chris, I'm a little nervous with that because one thing I noticed, the Vikings, they don't get the pressure on the quarterback, and they are giving up 271 yards passing a game, 404 overall. How do you see this one here, laying the 4 with the Vikes?
Yeah, personally, this was a side that I was not going anywhere near when we were talking about it in our videos earlier today. I mean, this is you have I don't know what screams must play about a 1-9 combined record between these two teams, but you have two teams that don't play much defense this year against two teams that actually have a fairly decent offense. You tend to lean towards the over. But, I mean, that hasn't stopped Atlanta from only putting up 16 points against a pair of average defenses in Green Bay and Carolina the last couple weeks. Minnesota's had issues scoring as well. This just seems like the run-first Viking offense, even without Dalvin Cook, should be leaning towards running the ball a little bit more. I think they're going to chew up a lot of clock. I can see this one coming under 55. Even if it comes close to that number, I don't think we're gonna get there. I think we might even be stuck around the 40s, the high 40s, but I think it's coming in under the total at the end of the game.
All right, El Nino's here joining us here on the drive-through. Looking on his pick today is taking the favorite at home, Minnesota minus the 4. Now we can't argue with your success, man. You're sitting at the top of leaderboards over at Pig Dogs Premium. So as we hit the bottom of the hour, what you got going on over at Pig Dogs Premium?
Yeah, so this isn't. I mean, if Chris, I can understand him arguing, especially that Cook injury. I mean, is a little concerning. Yeah, I have some other plays I do like a lot more than this one, although I do like this one quite a bit. Quite a few plays in the NFL I like that will end up on the premium side, and I have my play on the Dodgers tonight as well. Passed on the college today, but yeah, we'll take a look at the Saturday card tonight.
All right, I'll take a look at the Saturday card. Check out El Nino's over at Pig Dogs Premium. Why don't you pick up one of those 7-day or 30-day passes right now? Pick up a month of NFL from El. He's #1 documented over at Pig Dogs Premium, nearly 900 units of profit. All right, El, as always, great having your show. Have a great weekend. You're back on Monday.
Yep, we'll see you then. Have a good weekend, guys.
All right, buddy. El Nino's here on the drive-through, guys. Still a lot more picks coming. I just saw Damien Sauce sign in, so we'll have Damien in the second part of the show. It's got more picks coming up, and let's ask Chris Ruffalo his thoughts on this game. North Carolina and Florida State. And it's a big number here that North Carolina's got to lay here, about 14. And I'm a little concerned about the North Carolina defense when they stepped up in competition. Not saying this is a step up game, but Florida State does have some capable players there that can. I don't know if they can get it within that number. Well, how do you see this one?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of a scary jump when you see the line go from 9 to 13.5 with around 65% of the public on North Carolina coming into this one. I mean, you look at the competition that North Carolina's had. They have Virginia Tech. They won that one in a shootout. BC, they scraped by. They beat Syracuse, but a lot of teams have beaten Syracuse this year. You know, it just seems like North Carolina's they've had lesser competition, and outside of Syracuse, the other two teams have been kind of capable, and they've still kind of scraped by. I mean, they haven't really been all that dominant. You look at Florida State, you know, that loss to Georgia Tech, and then getting beat up by Miami, getting beat up by Notre Dame. Those Notre Dame and Miami losses are somewhat forgivable, and you know, Jacksonville State they beat. This is probably a no play for me, but if I have a gun to my head and I had to kind of pick it, I would lean towards Florida State getting the points simply because, you know, the losses haven't been to slouches outside of Georgia Tech to start the year, and we haven't necessarily seen North Carolina beat up on anybody. I still need to see a little bit more. I was high on Sam Howell to start the year, but as the season's going on, laying almost 2 touchdowns on the road, I'm not a fan of it. But again, this is probably a no play for me.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm not comfortable laying 14 with North Carolina. You know, they did beat Syracuse. Boston College, you know, they're inexperienced offensive teams. BC was inexperienced, and that was with their second game of the year. So I don't put much stock into that one. Of course, I was concerned here with Virginia Tech rolling up 500 yards, you know, and that's the thing that kind of gets
and
to
45
me there.
points.
Yeah. No, you know, and that's, you know, when you're laying big numbers, this is something you got to really be important. When you're laying big numbers in college football, and I'll even say this even in college basketball, you got to make sure you look at the defense, because the defense is really what's going to give you the cover.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you lay 14 on the road, and then all of a sudden the home team goes up 7-0 early. Now you got to make up 21 points, and we've seen a lot of these teams. We saw South Carolina early on in the season, or no, sorry, it was Texas A&M. So had to cover 30.5 points against Vanderbilt, and they only scored 17. And I said, you know what, you have a hard time covering a 30-point spread when you're only scoring 17 points. So, you know, the line's something to look at to begin with. But even then, at that point, if you're having trouble scoring, the other team's putting up points, you're never going to get to that cover. So definitely be wary of the lines and be wary of the defense as well, like Tony said.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys, this is the drive-through. A lot more picks coming. We're going to get you that Georgia State, Arkansas State game as well. It's a lot more college and NFL. A lot of football here. We even got a UFC pick. It's a fight night, fight Island. So I know Chris may have some questions for Shane, and when we get into that UFC segment with Shane Mickle in a little bit. But right now, you're going to take it's time for your show pick, Chris, and you're going to be looking at this game between Navy and East Carolina. One of the games that we talked about early in the week, and you know, I always again, this is a Navy team that had their struggles, but they're facing a bad defensive team in East Carolina. Navy now 2.5 and 3 in some places. We're seeing some threes pop up. Total sits here at 56.5. That's way down from the opener of 62.
And I know we talked about that earlier in the week, and that's kind of why I wanted to bring it back around again, because you look at Navy and East Carolina. I mean, East Carolina giving up 41.3 points per game this year. They're giving up 187.7 rushing yards per game against a Navy team that we all know loves to run that option offense, even if it hasn't been run very well to start the year. And you look at Navy, and they're no prize pig themselves. They're giving up 37 points a game. East Carolina is inept defensively, but you know they can still put up some points. And we saw them put up that garbage touchdown to make it 29 against UCF. They put up 29 against Georgia State as well, and then they just beat the wheels off of South Florida earlier this week. I'm not sure we see a win from East Carolina or necessarily a close game, but with the amount of big plays that an option offense can break off, and even if East Carolina is somewhat capable on offense, even with the giant drop in the total, I'm not sure how this one doesn't go over the total. I think we see two horrendous defenses try to do their job, and I think it's just all about which one comes up with a stop first.
Yeah, and of course, when you're a bad defense, that's something I'm looking for. You're not being able to get off the field on third down, and that's the problem when you face Navy, is that when they continue to convert those first downs. It just wears out the opposing defense, and it just basically what happens. You see teams give up big plays in late in the third and entire fourth quarter.
Yeah, and it almost just seems like for whatever reason the defense is like, man, we just came off the field, now we have to go back on, and it's like whether it's even just like the kick return or you have like a 2-play drive that ends up with an 80-yard run. I just think there's going to be a lot of changing of stats when you're going to have the offense come on, the defense come on, and you're going to see multiple changes throughout the first couple quarters. I think throughout the game, I would not be surprised if this one hits at least 70 points. I think this one could be a 49-21 game for Navy. I just think this is going to be a high-scoring game. I'm that line drop makes you look a little bit, but I don't think it scares me here. I think I'm still going to take the over in this one.
We saw a lot of plays numbers drop last week. It was because of that hurricane, but it didn't cash for them. It did not cash those depressed totals going downward, and a lot of orders came in. Then we hit one with that Marshall game, and that's really what happened. All right, Chris, we've just passed the bottom of the hour here. What do you have over at Pick Dogs Premium?
So I still have my platinum platter play for $25. It's going to be for the Georgia State and Arkansas State game tonight. I'm starting to really key in on the Sun Belt. I'm really loving the midweek college football that we have going on. I also still have those prices lowered for the longer term packages. They are going back up tonight at midnight, so don't miss out on those. Get some of the best value you can, especially with football coming up this weekend. We have a loaded card on Saturday and Sunday. We're going to have a couple Monday night games as well, and I'm going to have plays on those as well, so trust me, don't miss out on those.
Absolutely, guys. Don't miss out on Chris Ruffalo's plays over at Pig Dogs Premium. Pick up either a 3-day, 7-day, or 30-day all sports pass now available at Pig Dogs Premium for Chris Ruffalo. And he's having he'll knock it out in NFL, college football, and of course we're going to increase the schedule here in a few weeks as the Big Ten, Pac-12, MAC, and Mountain West come into action, Chris. So we have to go back and study, do a lot more research, find these teams with these first-year starting quarterbacks and inexperienced offensive lines.
Yeah, but Tony, as well as I, that's part of the job. As soon as they announced that they were ready to go, we were back on a lot of these teams and back to doing our homework, almost as if they never opted out. But I'm just excited to get more and more teams back into the fold, even if it's only for a 6-game MAC schedule or for an 8-game Pac-12. I'm ready. Bring it on.
All right, bring it on. All right, we got another game to cover here with Chris. We're going to look at this Virginia and Wake Forest game. Cavs road favorites 2.5. Of course, most of their school losses came against NC State and Clemson. I prefer the Cavaliers' defense because they can stop the run. And Demon Deacons, they've given up a lot of points against the ACC. Now we can actually start looking at conference numbers here, and 512 yards per game in their conference games. Wake Forest really has struggled defending the quarterback, giving up over 4 sacks a game. Of course, the Cavs, though, could be a quarterback issue here. Brendan Armstrong under concussion protocol, so we could look at the backup, but he's been in the system 3 years. His junior year, he has seen some play. So how do you see this one here, Chris, Virginia and Wake Forest in ACC play?
Yeah, I mean, I've had issues with Wake Forest all season long. This is a team that I've had serious issues trying to figure out. I mean, you gave them the benefit of the doubt with the big cover against Clemson, and then losing on the road to NC State when I thought they had a chance. But the Wake Forest team also put up 42 points in that game. So there was a lot left to be desired. Then you have to kind of throw out the result against Campbell because, like I said, the ACC is going to offer a lot tougher opposition than what the Fighting Camels bring to the table. But you look at Virginia, I mean, Tony, it's like you said, they lose at home to NC State. And NC State all of a sudden decides they want to win games on the road this season. And, Virginia hung on the road against Clemson. This is one of the harder ACC games, in my opinion, this week. I think I'm leaning towards the under in this spot. I think this is, even for Virginia and Wake Forest, two teams that know how to put points on the board. I just think this is going to be sort of a slop fest in the middle of the field. Maybe in the game that stays inside the 20s. There's a lot of running the ball, especially if Virginia's got a lot of quarterback issues. As far as the side goes, I'm leaning towards Wake Forest. Just because we know what we're getting from Wake. They got a healthier quarterback. They got some decent receivers. Until we figure out what's going on with Armstrong, I'm not trying to back the Cavaliers as much as the next person. So I lean towards Wake Forest here.
All right, that's Chris Ruffalo here. Join me on the drive-through. Still a lot more picks coming. We got that Georgia State, Arkansas State game, Georgia and Alabama pick coming up as well, and a lot more to cover here on the drive-through show for Thursday. All right, let's continue our coverage here. We're going to look here at Fight Island. We're going to bring in our buddy Shane Mickle. Shane, how you doing? Here, a pretty good fight card coming up from the UFC this weekend.
Yeah, this is a card I'm really excited for.
Absolutely, Chris. I know, Chris Ruffalo. You follow UFC, and you'll throw some plays out there. Do you have anything for Shane for this weekend?
I still have to look over the card. I might have someone on the morning show, but the one fight that I was kind of looking at besides the one that I believe Shane's going to cover. I also like Jillian Robertson to cover as part of a parlay because she is a little bit heavy juice. I think she's around minus 220 or 225 last I saw. But I just think she's a much better fighter against Poliana Patello. I just think Robertson's going to come in and do some damage. But again, this is still an early look for the fight night cards. You kind of have to do a little bit of digging on these ones, I feel.
A little bit of digging. Of course, we don't have those West Coast college football games. What time is this card? What time are these starting at an hour here? You know, right well after the primetime games from college football go off the air, or is it an early start?
I think the preliminary card goes off around
7 Eastern.
Okay. So it's going to run concurrent with the primetime college football. All right, because it's in Fight Island. Of course it is. It's ESPN Plus will televise this one on Saturday. Of course, you're going to be looking here at the big main event here with Ortega and the Korean Zombie. And I know there's a play you're looking at. You're looking here at the fight to finish within the distance and not to go to the judge's scorecard.
Yeah, really been looking into this card, and if it wasn't on the show, this would be a premium pick for me. But since I'm giving it out here, I'm going to keep it off my premium card. But yeah, I really like this fight. A lot of what I'm reading about is Ortega's never been finished, which technically is true. His last fight was in 2018 against Max Holloway. And at the end of the fourth round, he was done. I mean, they ended up throwing in the towel. And if the fourth round would have been 15 seconds more, he would have been laying on the canvas too. It's going to be much of the same with the Korean Zombie. Korean Zombie's got a lot of power in his hands, and Ortega's not going to be able to take it. I really like this one for the Korean Zombie to finish inside the distance, and I see it right around plus 100, plus 105, minus 105, somewhere in that area. So really good value for your money.
All right, so check it out, Korean Zombie. Check the different odds at different sports books here. This is by finish, not to go to the judge's scorecard here. The Korean Zombie here at minus 180. Chris, have you seen much of this Korean Zombie in action?
I tell you, I have watched the Korean Zombie once or twice, and God, I'll tell you, he is every bit as good as the billing would tell you. I mean, he's got 6 fights finished by knockout, 8 fights finished by submission. I mean, he's one of the few fighters that can do both in any division. And I'm going to sort of hop onto what Shane was mentioning here. You're also looking at the fact that Ortega's missing his cornerman. I mean, Renier Gracie just tested positive for COVID, so he's not going to have him in his corner, and that's not something that you want your head cornerman to be out when this is your first fight in 2 years. And I just think that Ortega's going to be under an avalanche of pressure from the Korean Zombie. I think we're going to see a lot of striking from Jung. I think we're going to see a lot of grappling, and I just think Ortega's going to get caught in the avalanche, and I agree. I think Jung finishes this fight within the distance. I also saw it around even money at plus 100 to finish within the to not go to the scorecards. But again, yeah, I think this one's all Korean Zombie, and I think this is Jung's application for a title fight very soon.
All right, Shane, what are some of the other featured matches you're looking for on this Fight Island card on Saturday?
Yeah, the co-main event is Caitlin Chookagian and Jessica Andrade. I do have a premium pick on that one. That should be a great fight. Both those girls are trying to get back up there and get a title shot, and I think the winner of that fight might need one more fight, and they might get another title shot.
All right. Anything in the prelims get your attention that you may be posting up at the site?
Yeah, I've got actually two. My other 2 fights in my package. are from the prelims. So yeah, and I will have every one of those posted. Just free plays on the site at Pick Dogs too.
All right, that's Shane Mickler joined us here on the drive-through. Looking here at his UFC card, you can pick it up over at Pig Dogs Premium. Now we'll switch over to sports. You're looking here at this Dodger and Atlanta game. Kershaw, it's kind of tough to go against him in this one.
Yeah, it's tough, but it's tough to know what he's actually going to give us tonight. I'm afraid it might be a situation like we saw with the Padres. Was that last week when they sent out Clevenger? He went out there for 15 pitches, maybe he had to get pulled. So I think it's the money side, just not really knowing how things going to go on this one.
Yeah, it could be one interesting one here as well. Of course, I don't know how, being out there in Minnesota, the Big Ten will be starting. Have you followed at all the Minnesota Golden Gophers program?
Yeah, I'm really excited for the Gophers this year. They got Rashad Bateman back. Ever the buzz around here is Wisconsin, and you have a shot in the Big Ten championship game. Now, being from Minnesota, I know that probably won't happen. You can't have nice things around here, but this program is really looking up with PJ Fleck.
Yeah, it sure has, and of course, Chris we're getting close here to the Big Ten, and we got to start looking at some of these schools pretty soon.
I could take Big Ten football, some of my favorite football to watch. I mean, we're not going to have the fans in the stands, which, I mean, I kind of watch the Big Ten mostly for those home field environments, but there's still some of the most quality football coming out of the Big Ten this year, and I can't wait to see. We're going to see from guys like Ohio State, Wisconsin, how they're going to be able to deal with no fans. But again, just more football for me to take in. I'm ready for it.
All right, Shane, as we approach the top of the hour, you come off a really good NBA season. Sorry to see the NBA finish already, because you were giving Mitch a run for his money there, because Mitch finished the top spot. So what do you have cooking over at Pig Dogs Premium as we're approaching the top of the hour?
Yeah, tonight I got one play on the college football game, and I do have a play on that Dodgers game. And then this weekend, I've got a UFC card, $24.99. And then I'm also going to run a $39.95 3-day pack that'll include my UFC too. So that's probably the best bang for the buck.
All right, that's right, guys. Check out Shane Mickle over at Pig Dogs Premium. A really positive unit return, plus 270 units documented over at Pig Dogs Premium. Why don't you remind everyone about your UFC card, your MMA card you'll have up for the weekend as well?
Yeah, $24.99, and the biggest favorite right now I have in there, I think, is less than 170, and I've got two underdogs. So you buy the package, you're not going to get me laying, minus 50s and call that a premium pick.
Absolutely, that's what we like to hear. It. All right, Shane, it was always great having your show. Have a great night, great weekend. Have some great luck. Get those winning tickets on the UFC, and we'll talk with you next week.
All right, sounds good. Have a good night, guys.
All right, everybody. Shane Mickle here on the drive-through. I know, Chris, you keep an eye on MMA, UFC. Do you put plays up there?
I do. I try to stay away from these fight night cards because there's a lot of unknowns. I mean, you still get fighters that are sort of trying to build up their resume or try to climb the rankings. Right now, I've been sticking more towards just the main UFC events. But if I definitely scour the cards, at least give it a once over and see if there's something that I like throughout the weeks. But ever since we started to get the NBA and MLB and stuff like that back, I've started to scale back a little bit on the MMA. But you know what? If there is a demand for it, and if I see something that I like, then I'll definitely put it up there, at least for the longer term subscriptions at least.
All right, guys, this is a drive-through. We're here Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern time. Free picks every day here on the show. We still have more plays coming. A lot of college football. Some NFL will be sprinkled in, and we'll definitely have that Georgia State and Arkansas State game as well. Mitch will be on his segment here in a little bit. He'll be looking at Georgia, Alabama. He'll have a pick on that game, so stay tuned. That will be coming up shortly. All right, I'd like to get your thoughts here, Chris, on this Marshall, Louisiana Tech game. 6 p.m. Eastern start time, CBS Sports Network. Marshall laying 13.5 on the road. That's a lot of points. The total sits between 50.5 and 49.5. We know Louisiana Tech's inexperienced team. Marshall, can put up some points, but really their defense has really come through this year for them.
It definitely has. You kind of saw when Marshall kind of pounded on Western Kentucky last week, and it was just a bad sign of things to come for the Hilltoppers here who still haven't managed to cover a game. But you know what? I like Marshall to win this one. I just think that this might be a case of too many points, even with Louisiana Tech. I mean, the Bulldogs aren't a bad team, and even though they struggle, I mean, they still have solid quarterback play, and I think that's going to be a key point to it because not many teams have been able to run the ball on Marshall this season. I think this is Marshall's toughest test up to this point, and I haven't seen enough to say, hey, let me lay 2 touchdowns with Marshall on the road. I think this one could be a 10-point win, something like 31-21, but again, I think it's too many points. I would take them with Louisiana Tech here.
Yeah, I think so because Louisiana Tech, pretty good underdog team under Holtz, and this is, like I said, they've done well. Holtz has done well with inexperienced offenses. He does develop the talent over there, and of course, watch out when his young guys are seniors because they will roll up points and put up and cover spreads.
Absolutely, that will be one of the teams definitely to watch over the next couple of years. Just as you start to see the Bulldogs start to get more game experience. And this is going to be a scary team to watch in Conference USA, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I just hope he doesn't move to another school. That's when it gets tricky, right?
That's always the concern.
You like those good mid-major coaches where you can kind of know exactly once they get all their bullets, they'll be ready to go. All right, guys, the drive-through.
He didn't get the name Skip Holtz for nothing. We'll put it that way.
That's right, Skip out of town Holtz, no question. All right, guys, this is a drive-through. Still a lot more picks coming as we approach the top of the hour, and right now we're going to welcome to the show Capper. You see at the top of the leaderboards over at Pig Dogs Premium, and it's our buddy. Damian Sasha. Damian, how you doing? You keeping an eye on this Rays and Houston game. Rays have cut the margin down to 1 run as they're still batting 5th inning.
Yeah, definitely a good game. Houston, they pull this one out. All hands on deck. It's definitely fun to watch.
Yeah, it is fun to watch now. They've got 2 runners on. It's the 5th inning here, 2 outs. So Troy just got a base hit. He lumbered into first base without a slide. So now we'll see how. I always laugh when I see this picture from Houston. Scrub is on the mound for the Astros. Ruffalo, how do you like Scrub, this reliever here for the Astros? Or they call him Screw.
In case it's possible for a more appropriately named pitcher in the Major League Baseball. Every time I see Scrub or Scroob or wherever you want to name him on the mound, oh boy, I think he's off the mound faster and he gets on it. But that's not for me to decide. If I had a pitcher named Scrub on my staff, I'd be like, look, dude, before I throw you on the mound, you either got to change your jersey or you got to change your last name or something. I can't have you going out there with the last name Scrub.
Yeah, you think they'd have to put an E in after that U and just make sure it's Scroob, or maybe take that U out of there and put O. We're going to call you Scroob.
You know what? We've dealt with so many. We've dealt with German soccer on the morning show. Put the 2 dots over the U, like you see on those like pieces of IKEA furniture. Just throw something on there to make it a little bit different. But don't send him out there looking like Scrub. Come on now.
Well, they call him Scrub. He has that overhand curve that he throws the ball overhand like you saw back in the old school. You guys go look at some of those old school videos. He looks like one of those guys from the 70s, like a Rick Russell, round. He's wearing a jersey that's oversized for a reason. All right, Damian, you're going to be looking here at college football. Army and UTSA, Texas San Antonio. Boy, this team is played well. Well, they should because they've got a little experience under their belt. But I know they've dealt with some quarterback issues with health. But the Army, they started the season well. They're favored on the road 7.5. Totals come down from an opener of 51.5 to about 49.
Yeah, Army played very poorly last week. They were 30 favorites against the Citadel. They ended up winning the game. It's just 14-9. Now they did play without quarterback Christian Anderson. He is expected. Well, I shouldn't say he's expected back. He might be playing again. He might be playing this week. Army kind of goes 2 quarterbacks. He's the better runner of the 2. The other quarterback is Jamel Jones. He's the better passer of the 2. Now UTSA, they played arguably their best game of the year. Now they ended up losing by 7 points, but they were 34 underdogs against BYU. Now, but I do like Army in this game, and the reason why UTSA they gave their maximum effort against BYU in that game. BYU is a very, very physical team. Now they only a week left, only a week to prepare for Army's cut block scheme, their option attack, and Army's very physical themselves. I just don't think UTSA is going to want any part of this game. To make matters worse, they have two defensive tackles their two defensive tackles are questionable for this football game. Army has Mercer on deck, so their whole focus is going to be against Texas San Antonio this game. They beat them there last year. Perhaps UTSA is looking ahead to Louisiana Tech, so I'm going to take Army in this game and lay the points on the road.
All right, Damon Sosh says go ahead and lay Army -7.5 against Texas, San Antonio, or UTSA. Chris, so we're looking here at this UTSA team. They put up a gallant effort here against BYU, but now they're coming home and facing this. They got to deal with this option team here from Army, and they don't see a lot of it.
No, definitely. I mean, Damien took the words right out of my mouth. I mean, you saw Army come into that game against the Citadel as 30-point favorite. You're kind of like, okay, well, maybe it's the Citadel, so maybe they'll come out and beat them up. But I think that Army just was sort of just talking about, let's just get out of here with a win and let's look towards this game against UTSA. UTSA, on the other hand, like I said, like Damien said, they battled against BYU. I think early on you're like, okay, UTSA is playing with house money. They're getting 34 points. Maybe they just come out and they show a valiant effort. And as the game went on and they were keeping BYU at arm's reach, you started to see, okay, maybe they actually have a chance in this one. And they started to throw more and more at BYU as the game went on. And you know what? They threw it all out there, still lost by 7. Again, valiant effort, but now you got to take on an Army team that's just going to run at you. They're going to be physical. They're going to take it at you. And I'll tell you what, UTSA hasn't done a very good job stopping the run this year. You're going to have over 180 rushing yards a game. I think Damien's got this one bang on. I could see this one being a beatdown from start to finish. I think Army rolls in this one.
Yeah, when you look at their meeting last year, it was Army winning by 18, but in this one, Damien, they ran the ball for 340 yards on the Roadrunners.
Yeah, and the thing that obviously they're going to look to run the ball again, and like I mentioned, when you only have a week to prepare for an option like Army runs, it's something that you rarely see. There's only a handful of schools that run this type of offense, and we only have that week to prepare. There's a lot of assignments. If you're not on your assignment, you're going to get burned. And then I think playing in the Army strength is UTSA. They like to throw the ball. Army, their secondary really isn't half bad. They forced a lot of turnovers. I think they're like, I want to say they're about third in forcing turnovers in the nation. They haven't played the strongest of schedules, but there's something to be said for that. So I do like Army in this football game.
All right, that's Damien Saucier. Join us on the drive-through. Damon, we see at the top of the leaderboards over at Pig Dogs Premium as we approach the top of the hour. What do you have going on over at Pig Dogs Premium?
I still have a play on the board here for the college football game tonight. And then this weekend, starting tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, I'm definitely going to have college football action. Second right now, I believe, in the college football rankings. 2 Saturdays ago, I was 5-0 in college football. This past Saturday, 4-1. Maybe do yourself a favor, pick up a 3-day plan. You'll get, today, Friday, Saturday, all my college football. I'm hot right now, and I'm looking to stay hot.
That's right, guys. Check out Damien Sosh over at Pig Dogs Premium. You see over 500 years of profit this year, all documented at Pig Dogs. One of those 7-day or 30-day passes is a good way to get started here with Damien. Pick up all of his plays for 30 days. His NFL, college football, the baseball. So get on board. All right, Damien, it's always great to have you on your show. Have a great weekend, winning week, and we will talk to you next week.
Thanks, guys. You too. Take care.
All right, everybody. Damien Sosh here on the drive-through. All right, guys. We're here Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern time. Still got more picks coming. Now let's take a look at this Bengals and Colts game. Chris, we got the Colts here laying 8 in this one, total 46.5. We'll see how Joe Burrow does against this defense of the Indianapolis Colts. That they gave up some. They probably had to step up in class last week and got beat. But Burrow can move the football, but he definitely needs a little bit of protection.
Absolutely, and Mitch and I were doing our NFL videos today, and then we had just done this video, and then he sent me a YouTube video of Joe Burrow getting absolutely rocked in the game against the Eagles, And I thought to myself, oh boy, is this what I'm in store for this weekend? Because, DeForest Buckner's just causing havoc in that Indianapolis defense. And I'm still leaning towards the Bengals and the points here, especially getting that extra point. I think I saw it at 8 the last time I looked, because I just think that, Phillip Rivers, for as much as he's leading that Indianapolis offense, we haven't seen him really sling the ball around the field all that much. And even when he has, the results haven't necessarily come. I mean, he hasn't thrown for more than a touchdown in any of his games this year. And, I still think Joe Burrow, he's playing with house money at this point, because this is a team that Cincinnati team that nobody had really much expectation for this year. I think if they go on the road, it's a moral victory, even if they lose by a touchdown. I think Burrow does enough to keep this one in the game, keep the Bengals in the game. Excuse me. And he saw a lot. He ended up on the turf a lot last week against the Ravens. I think he's prepared for the Colts in this one. I'm still leaning towards taking the Bengals and the points.
All right, Christopher says take the Bengals and the points in this one. All right, guys, this is the drive-through. Still got more picks coming, and we'll continue going here. And let's welcome to the show Mitch. You can hear him in the morning at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Mitch, how are things going? Keep an eye on this baseball game with this Rays and this Astros. Pretty dramatic game here.
Absolutely. Did not have the best baseball season this year, so going to try and make it all up in just a couple of games here, the ones that we have left. We got a big-time hammer in on the Braves on the reverse double run line here, laying 2.5 and laying 3.5 if you watch the morning show. While I was sitting here, when Al Ninos was talking about the Dodgers with his Kershaw shirt on, I had to look and see exactly where the lines were. I threw another $200 on the Braves at minus 3.5. $200 pays $1,974 even. That's how you make money betting, right there. You hit one of those, it covers a lot of smaller bets. And on baseball, I'm down to about $350 a bet. So it's like I'm just sick of taking the beating on it. So it's like I still want to have some action out there, but I got to just take big plays. Like some people love the parlay cards. I like to take big money dogs like that in reverse action. So that's what I'm on today.
All right, he's on the reverse action, guys. They still got time to get on that. We're an hour away from the start of that one. Of course, we're 3-2 Houston. Still bottom of the fifth. This one is taking a little while to get going here. Still a lot of time left in that game. All right, Mitch, let's take a look at the game you're looking at. SEC, thank goodness it's not postponed. We had 2 SEC games postponed. Thank God it wasn't this one. 8 Eastern time on CBS. Georgia, Alabama. Open Alabama 6. Then, of course, Saban gets COVID and it goes down to 4. It's up to 4.5 because, as I told Chris, I think somebody out there thinks Saban will find a way to coach this game.
I think they will test and retest, and they'll probably put him in a baggie if they need to and just have him walk around the sideline like John Travolta and Boy in the Plastic Bubble. Maybe even get him a stool if the suit starts to weigh him down. But I just think that, the problem with Alabama isn't Saban on the sideline or not on the sideline. This is the worst tackling team that Saban's ever had, that I can even ever remember. This team just simply cannot tackle. This reminds me of the Miami Hurricane team when Jimmy Johnson came in. And, a lot of people look at that Flutie game that happened, and that great catch by Gerard Phelan in the end zone to beat us. But, Miami gave up 48 a game in that one. And Tony, I don't know if I'm sure he remembers this. Gaston Green lit us up for about 600 yards rushing in one of those games. So, it's the problem isn't the offense. The problem isn't Nick Saban. The problem isn't COVID. The problem is piss poor tackling by the Alabama Crimson Tide this season. They just can't get anybody off the field.
Yeah, it's been that way. They have not looked good on the defensive side of the football, Chris. And your thoughts here on this Georgia team. The defense looks sharp. How do you see it?
They've been really effective on the pass. Oh, it's you, me?
Yeah,
Chris.
Yeah.
Let Mitch go.
I'll go. I'm talking. I'm on a filibuster. Smash the like button while you're at it, guys.
There you go.
Anyways, I'm on a roll. Let him go. It's like Animal House. Don't slow him down. Yeah, I think this Georgia defense has been super aggressive. Kirby Smart had top-ranked recruiting classes for quite some time there, and it's paying off. I think, Georgia, while we see all the talent they have on the field, think about all the talent that's left Georgia, too. I mean, through the transfer portal. That's been the worst thing that happened to Georgia was the transfer portal. I mean, imagine if they had Justin Fields there at quarterback. They wouldn't have to worry about transfers in and these other guys. They'd have Justin Fields running the show they'd be talking Heisman to Georgia, right? I don't think they've won one since Herschel. So, this Georgia team is absolutely loaded. They have tons of speed. The thing is that we've seen Alabama teams that are kind of down. And, even last year when Tua went down and they played against Joe Burrow and that LSU team, they still managed to put up about 50 points on that vaunted LSU defense that was loaded with NFL first-round picks. This game's going way over. I mean, not just over. Last week I said over 100 in the Ole Miss Alabama game because of Alabama inability to get teams off the field on third. I mean, third and 6 against a normal Alabama team, you expect a sack, a fumble, a turnover for a touchdown, right? Now, 17-yard game. This is the beginning of the end of the Alabama run.
Yep, and they said most combined points allowed by SEC teams in one day, 473 points there, Mitch. I don't know, is it because we're getting these Pac-12 coaches over to the SEC? What's happening?
I think it's a matter of attrition that we've seen. We've seen this happen throughout the years. It's cyclical. Remember 15 years ago when USC was never going to lose another game again? Remember 20 years ago when Miami was never going to lose another game? Remember, 25 years ago when Florida State was never going to lose a game? Remember when Peyton Manning was unstoppable? It's just a matter of attrition. With all these players leaving early and all of them being drafted high, the more players that leave early, the higher they get drafted, the more players behind them that say, hey, I could play one and be gone too, and I can get drafted high and cash in. And that's exactly what these guys are doing. It's just like the guys not playing in bowl games. Players are leaving. They're getting drafted high. They're cashing in. It's very, very hard to reload. At a certain point, you lose depth. And that was what Deshaun Watson exposed about Alabama a few years ago when he drug them up and down the field in the national championship game, and they were sucking wind in the fourth quarter.
All right, now over to Chris here. Your thoughts on this Georgia side here as they take on Alabama?
No, I can't argue any of that. I'll tell you, I liked what I saw from Georgia against Tennessee. Tennessee was coming to that with a ton of momentum. Jarrett Guarantano was playing well, and then it was the most points that Georgia gave up all season, but they still ended up with a 23-point win coming out of that. And, Mitch touched on our Alabama Ole Miss game that we had going over 100, and that finished at 111 points. And I'm not really a fan of an Alabama defense that's going to give up 48 points to Ole Miss, even as well as Ole Miss has played this year. I definitely think this one's going over the number as well, and I think Georgia wins this one outright. I'm not even looking towards the points. I think Georgia wins this one.
All right, Ruffalo coming in strong here with the Georgia Bulldogs size here with the money line. All right, Mitch, as we pass the top of the hour, what can they find over at Pig Dogs Premium?
I just have one pick today. It's the college football game, Georgia State, Arkansas State. I haven't been off to the hottest start in college football. I always call it like it is. You don't have to, there's all of our picks at sportschatplace.com and pickdogs.com. All of our premium picks are 100% documented, so there is nowhere to hide. I mean, you could string together some oddball streak of your last, however many games to make it fit, but people are going to be able to go back and see that, it's your last 6 that you lost, your last 6 that you won to dress it up. And, that's why we're 100% transparency at Sports Chat and Pick Dogs. As always, the longer term packages are always going to be where the value's at, whether it be me, Chris, Tony, anybody like that. I'm just super proud to be part of this site. It's something, the multi-capper site. We're only 2 months into this, if you guys can believe it. And I believe we're the best multi-capper site out there on the internet. And I think it all begins with that 100% transparency. And it's like, people ask it. I see it in the YouTube comments, when I do these videos. And, it's hard for me to, when there's 3 games. A lot of times if there's a full card of college football games, a few of those games that I gave out as free picks might be my best bets for the day also. So you'll see an overlap into the premium. But when there's 3 games, I got nowhere to go, except for the opposite, like a total, if I've given out the side. So people will be like, why should I buy your premium picks? Because there's no relevancy whatsoever of one to the other. And, I don't know how to make that crystal clear. I try to win them all, but, there's a big difference between cherry picking, the ones that you like the best, and just giving out a pick on every game. I mean, who do you guys like in the Middle Tennessee, North Texas game? I don't know. Chris has probably got an opinion. I'm sure Chris has probably got a premium in on that thing. But it's like, I have no idea.
Well, I can tell you right now, North Texas can't defend anybody. They're like
the
San
Middle
Jose
Tennessee.
I mean,
Tennessee's
North
got
Texas.
a matador defense too.
Oh, well, North Texas, I think they're giving up almost 700 yards a game. I mean, it's been some ugliness. I mean, you look at their numbers, it's hard. They're like San Jose State when they were bad.
They're also putting up 550 a game.
That is true.
While Middle Tennessee, their defense is pretty solid, but their offense, oh man, I think O'Hara's been pretty disappointing for them.
It has been, yeah, he has been pretty bad.
It's like this, and this is why, what everyone has seen here. This is how a day with 3 games turns into an hour and 20-minute morning show like the day like today. It's like, I don't know how we got there, but it's like, I don't know. I ended up with like $900 working on exotics, and it was like betting trifectas. It was like betting dime supers at the track. Just like, wow, that sounds like a good. It's like, whoa, plus 962. It's like.
Yep, we've moved to the top of the 6th, still 3-2 Houston. Rays up and 1 out, and Scrub is still on the hill for the Houston Astros. I'm going to call him Scrub. I don't think anyone would call themselves Scrub on the mound, right, Mitch?
No, absolutely not. There's some tough ones. I thought Ryan Suckup was always a tough name for a kicker, and it's like there's been a bunch of great names throughout the years, but Scrub is right up there.
I think my favorite starting pitch-up match of all time was Charlie Fisher and Doug Furbush.
That's pretty good. All right, Mitch, have a great week. We'll be listening to you tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Eastern time over on your morning show with the guys. Thanks, everyone, and remember to smash the like button. Absolutely. Smash that like button over on the sports chat and the Pick Dogs YouTube channel. All right, Mitch, have a good one. All right, that was our buddy Mitch here on the drive-through. Still a lot more coming. We're going to get you that pick on Georgia State and Arkansas State in just a second here. But first, your thoughts here on this Jet Miami game, Chris. Miami up to 10 in some places, 47. I kind of lean under because I think once Miami gets a lead, they just sit on the ball. How do you see it?
I think this total is just going to be all about if the Jets can contribute to that number. And to be honest with you, I'm not sure they can. It's hard to contribute to a total when you may have the possibility of putting up 0 points in a game. I mean, I'm not trusting this offense, whether it comes to Joe Flacco, Sam Darnold. I don't know who's going to lead it. You get rid of Le'Veon Bell. You're just getting rid of another one of the weapons that you cannot afford to part with. I want nothing to do with the Jets. I think this game for me, I think, is all Dolphins. I think this one's I'm not even going towards the total. I'm going towards the side in this one. I'm all over Miami in this one. All right. Chris Ruffalo says, go ahead, take Miami. I like those to the under. I think it's one of those old school games. Get the lead and sit on it. Don't let Fitzpatrick throw an interception, put the Jets in the game. That's what you got to be careful of. All right. Here on the drive. Time for my play. This one will go off in about 15, 20 minutes. Georgia State, Arkansas State. I'm going to take the points here with Georgia State Panthers. They're a balanced offensive team, 452 yards, but they run the ball for nearly 5 yards a carry, and their experience on both sides of the football. They did beat the Red Wolves a year ago, 52-38, 340 yards rushing. They covered both games this season, 3-point loss to Louisiana, and then winning by 20 at home to East Carolina, but not a good team. But Arkansas State lacks experience on the offensive side of the football, blown out by their last FBS opponent in Coastal Carolina. We know Coastal Carolina is probably one of the top Sun Belt teams, but still they gave 523 yards. And, of course, they gave up 304 yards passing in that game and 8.3 yards per attempt this year. So that Red Wolves defense is really bad. I would lean to the this is my pick here, Georgia State at plus 3.5. Did you look at this one, Chris? I did. I have the side in the premium area waiting for everybody, but I think you can honestly make a case for either side. I did like how Arkansas State looked against looked in their last game, but you also look at Georgia State. Like Tony, like you said, they got a ton of balance. Cornelius Brown's been a solid replacement at quarterback for Dan Ellington, who left the program last year. I think this is going to be one heck of a game. I mean, to go back to Coastal Carolina, it looked pretty good last night. I'll tell you that much. So that adds a little bit to their game against Arkansas State. But we're starting to see what a Thursday night would look like with some of these scattered games. But I'm telling you, I think this is going to be a great game for a Thursday night football matchup. Yeah, it definitely looked like a good one there between these two teams. All right, guys, here on the drive-thru, still time now for our recap. And let's take a look at today's picks from the show as we'll go over to show picks.
And let's see what we've got here. Al's going to join us here on this segment. See if he has a rebuttal to Mitch. All right, we started here with Alex Smart. And he said, go ahead and take the 49ers plus 3.5 against the Rams. Al, Ninos, Vikings -4 against the Falcons. Chris, Navy, East Carolina to go over total of 55.5. Shane says play Korean Zombie by finish against Brian Ortega. I saw a book at -180, but it's shopped around for these UFC prices because there's a big spread in these in between these books. Damian Sosh, Army -7.5 against UTSA. Mitch, Georgia, Alabama over 56.5. Yours truly on the Georgia State at +3.5. And I'm going to ask Chris. I think we can ask you today, which play do you like the best?
I think so. I think there might be enough for me to pick from here. I think honestly, it was a choice between Damien or Mitch's pick, but I'm gonna go with Army -7.5 only because I already got George on the money line. I'm gonna go with Army -7.5. I think the Black Knights steamroll UTSA in this one, so 7.5 seems like a pretty solid play for me.
All right, now we're going to go and ask El Ninos. I'm sorry we don't have the Dodger game up there, but which play do you like the best other than yours?
Yeah, I do like Mitch's play on that over as well, so I'll go with that one. And the UFC picks as well.
Oh, the UFC. You like the Korean Zombie.
Yeah, but I'll take Mitchell as my captain.
All right, he's going to take Georgia, Alabama over the total of 56.5. All right, thank you very much, Al. Have a great weekend. All right, we're back here. That does it for tonight's show. Be sure to tune in tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern time. We do this all over again. We'll have a couple of games from college football on the docket for tomorrow. We'll have baseball coverage. We know the Dodgers and Braves are going to play. We'll see if Houston and Tampa Bay will play. So far, it looks like they may because Houston's up on the lead, but there's still a lot of baseball left to go. And, of course, don't forget tomorrow morning, 10:30 a.m. Eastern time, it's the drive-through. And, of course, you'll have Mitch and company. Chris is there as well as Brian Bittler on the show, so be sure to tune it in. And Rod. Tony T. We'll go ahead and bring up the Pig Dog Cappers and give a wave goodbye. And we will see you guys tomorrow.